Welcome to The Dust Up, the show where we get into famous fights, feuds, and melees. I am Al Madrigal, joined by my good friend and comedian, actor, writer, director, Jay Larson. You do a lot of shit.
You do a lot of shit too.
Yeah.
You just threw it out there for me, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you do a lot of stuff.
And today, have we got a dust up for you? Today, we are talking about a sibling rivalry, major brands, Jesse Owens, and we're also talking about Nazis. What brings all of those things together? Adidas versus Puma. Yes, Adidas versus Puma. Are you an Adidas guy, Jay, or a Puma guy?
First of all, Al, hello. How are you? What's going on? I mean,
That's bullshit because
you're like the trashy waiter at the restaurant just comes over like, hey guys, you ready to get your drinks? And it's like, no, let's settle in. How are you doing?
I want to pretend we didn't chit-chat before this. Fine.
Yeah.
How are you? How are the kids? Everybody's good?
I don't give a shit, Al.
I do care about your children. You know that because I am famous for my impression of a baby that they think is hilarious. And I've
One
been doing it for
gig.
years.
You had one good gig and you think these fans are going to keep coming back. Like, nah.
You put me on the spot and had me do an impression, and then that's how it came about.
No, Al. I put you on the spot by having you on speakerphone, and I said the kids are in the car, and you're like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a baby," and the kids thought it was funny, and then you just were like, Kristen told me you bragged about it for a while, and then the next time you get on the speaker, you went for it, and they were like, "Oh, this bit again? Now we're good."
I'm a one-trick pony with the baby impression.
I'm good. Oh, for me growing up, I was Adidas.
Yeah, everybody was. Because that's when, I mean, I'm significantly older than you are, but when Run DMC came out with My Adidas,
Cool.
I remember when somebody brought, I think, Charles Dark and San Francisco, we were probably way ahead of music, living in an urban environment.
Was he black?
He was black. He brought that tape to school, and we all gathered around. And then I remember I found some kid's ATM card around the same time, and me and my cousin I found a wallet on the bus. We went to Tower Records, and I cleaned them out. And I went and bought every tape I possibly could.
How is it that we're getting into a sneaker store and you're like, hey, real quick, let me tell you the time I stole from someone and then bought stuff and then sold them for profit at school?
I just remember that the early days of rap and buying those albums. And so we had like Cool Mo D, Go See the Doctor, and then LL Cool J had just come out with his first album. So yeah, we were on.
The best stuff about that, did you say Strawberry Records?
No, Tower Records was big. Tower was big on the West Coast and big in San Francisco and LA at the time, yeah.
Yeah, so we had Strawberry Records, but the whole thing was you didn't know when someone was coming out with music. Like, you had no idea. You know what I mean? You just be like waiting. You'd have to go to the record shop, check. Did they come out with an album? I never forget my brother. They used to sell cassette singles, right? Do you remember cassette singles?
Yeah, sure.
And I wanted to get Playground by ABC. You know that song? And my brother was like, oh, yeah, it's by this guy, the band Guy. And I go, oh, so I go down, find the single by Guy, come back, I play it. It's not ABC, it's Guy. And my brother's like, cool, I wanted that single. And the guy hustled me for it, my brother. The only reason we wore Adidas was because we were like, I never bought sneakers anywhere but Tom McCann or Marshalls. And there was no Nike. Adidas was always like the step below Nike. You know what I mean? Like, kids who had a little coin were grabbing Nikes. I was always rocking Adidas because that was like the best you could get. Reebok occasionally.
Again, older than you, so we were rocking Converse. That was when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were sponsored by Converse, so there was those high-top Converse for basketball. There was a place in San Francisco, and Ben, who works with us on this podcast, it was Heart Boots, right? In the Fillmore, and we'd go down, they had every single Adidas wrapped, like in cellophane, and that was up on the wall, and so you'd go in there. But Heart Boots was badass. You can look up a picture of Heart Boots in San Francisco, and we'd go down there. I was I loved Adidas. We also had this place in the Inner Sunset District in San Francisco called Instep. And I'm busted out a pair of Adidas today that you can't find anymore. And they're discontinued. I'm trying to keep these around, but these are Adidas Grand Prix that are impossible to find at this point. They tried.
What are they?
These are, I mean, obviously with the rise of Formula One, I'm sure they couldn't use the Grand Prix name anymore. But I bought these in Chicago when I was doing stand-up, and they're just cooler. They actually kind of do look like a Puma California. And Puma California is I think I had a high-top basketball pair of Pumas that didn't last. And then I had Puma Californias on a regular basis. And Puma Californias are pretty cool shoes because they involved like a little bit of mesh.
Did they have color? Were those like, because remember with Gazelle and then Puma had the same kind of thing going on with like the color scheme of like green, reds, blues, you know?
I mean, shoes do come in a variety of colors, Jay.
Is that Al?
There's only so many colors you can use.
That's true.
And Adidas being aligned with soccer, they always had those cool Samba or the indoor soccer shoes that black. Yeah, those Samba classics. Those were always badass. But again, everybody was Adidas. Adidas is the bigger company. Adidas is much bigger than Puma. And I think to this day, Adidas has 36,000 employees and I mean, huge company, Puma, but has 9. I think it goes Nike, Adidas, and then Puma afterwards. And like the ranking of
Reebok. Is it Converse? Is it up in there?
I think, well, Converse was purchased by Nike, so it probably got folded underneath that.
A lot of folding going on nowadays.
Yeah. Acquiring. I think both of these brothers sold it off a long time ago, but this starts with 2 German brothers, Adolf, Adi, and Rudy. And Adi. What's that?
I've asked many people, did you know that Adidas and Puma were 2 brothers at a company and then they got a fight and they split? And people are like, what? No. And I love it. I think it's such a great story.
And they had a very successful, they grew up in a town in Germany where it was a small village, but it was like a lot of shoemakers. And so their father passed on this trade to them and they successfully sort of started making sneakers. And I think Adi is the artist and it's sort of the shoemaker here. And this other brother, Rudy.
Well, first of all, the best thing that I saw in some of our research is the first equipment they used to make shoes, they got from shoemakers that bounced for World War I that weren't there. So they just kind of like got equipment from like other people.
And they were operating out of their mom's pantry for a while and just sort of like, started making shoes. You're passionate about anything, you start making shoes. So they're making them together. But in terms of like the sibling rivalry of it all and talking about these 2 brothers, like I know from working in staffing for as long as I did, family businesses are tough. Like the joke that I used to have is like working for your parents have a personnel file on you from day one. They know everything. My dad told me he was going to I want to buy this new copier, Ricoh copier. And he goes, don't let it end up like your bike. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like stolen out in front of fucking parking shop? I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. So
we're in a meeting with 35 other people here.
yeah. Like, you are making me look like a chump, but they know everything about you. And so your brother that you would squabble over and you're probably both fighting for your parents' attention, whatever it is, you're now in business with them. So it takes a lot of work to make a relationship like that successful, especially in business, because there is squabbling that would go on with the brothers that probably wouldn't happen with just normal colleagues. And I think it's tricky also to husband and wife is impossible. It's just tricky to work with family members. So I totally get why they broke up, but they were kind of crushing it before they broke up. So they were killing it. Their biggest moment came when they put shoes on Jesse Owens.
Yes.
And Jesse Owens.
At that time, they had already pledged to the Nazi regime.
I think the whole Nazi thing is insane because that would become. But you're at a time where Jesse Owens is running in the Olympics. Hitler is in the stands.
I know. And Hitler did not like the fact that Jesse Owens was even there.
Yeah, I do think at that point he was like, okay, we have to step this up. It's just a matter of time before the imperial race. How do you sit in the stands and watch Jesse Owens crush it? 5 silver, bronze medals, 7 gold medals, and be like, okay, we're the superior race. This is fucking crazy. Anyway, and then
Do you know where they met Jesse Owens? Yeah, they met over a Starbucks in Gushkenberg. No, they had a friend who was an Olympic athlete who then was working on like the Olympic team for Germany, and he got them into the Olympic Village, like where all the athletes. They've had the Olympic Village evidently since then, and they went up to Jesse Owens and they're like, "Hey, listen, we want to." They didn't have spikes back then. No one had like spikes. They're like, "We're gonna make you this shoe," and he goes, "And this is what I found in my research, Al. Okay, I don't want to have a sibling rivalry here with you." But I found that Jesse Owens goes, I'll run in those shoes or I'm not running in shoes at all. And maybe Jesse Owens was like, I want to run in goddamn German shoes in front of Hitler and crush. And I'm not saying he set all those records because of the spikes that they had in the shoes. I don't know. I thought
we were actually putting nails in the shoes to give you that traction of when you took off.
Yeah.
So again, they were using, it said, carpet loafers and ballet slippers to construct these tennis shoes. So you imagine it's 1936. They don't look anything like what shoes do now. And we'll probably put some pictures up.
Oh, the original Jesse Owens shoes are sick. There's just 2 stripes in the one I saw. They look pretty rad.
Well, it's a completely different brand at that point, and they haven't split off to their separate companies.
Right.
So now then wives come in. Now, before we move on to the wives and how that sort of is the start of all of this disruption that led to the split of this company, how do you get along with your brother? Fine? No problems?
Yeah, we get along fine.
You raise your voice a little bit.
Well, we don't live in the same city. He lives, we've worked on projects together before because he's helping a lot of stuff. And we always say,
you guys?
Yeah, he's a graphic designer or was there director, but.
Or what company?
Hoka. Hoka! The fastest growing sneaker brand in the world.
Yeah, that's where I was going. So,
trick up his sleeve at every corner, you guys.
They have some Hokas. And what's interesting, you kind of think everything's been done in shoes, and then they look horrible, Hokas. But you put a pair of Hokas on, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't care. I'm married 22 years. I don't really care what I look like.
We can tell. Look at you right now.
I am kind of a mess. I'm growing out my beard. We started Lopez this week, and I have to grow out my beard for my character and my hair because I'm a stoner who lives in a van. So I'm not loving this.
And I'm on the dust-up stoner who lives in a garage.
Yeah, and we're in the garage. Anyway, your brother, you guys always got along? You never fought growing up?
Oh, we fought as kids, we tried not to, but I would annoy him, then we'd fist fight. Nothing crazy. No punches to the face or anything.
But you love him, and you guys have never have had beef that would separate you or not. You wouldn't have, you'd speak to him consistently all this time.
Of course, yes. I love my brother.
Yeah, I have 2 younger brothers, get along really well. I would never want money, wives, success, or anything to break us up. So I would really fight against that. So, but
what's interesting is I talked to your youngest brother, and he had a whole different take on it.
That's hilarious. He would. No, everyone gets along great. But working together, again, I did work for this family business, and that's where it gets tricky. So it is the company, and I think money makes people crazy. But I heard some different accounts of this, but it starts with the wives.
You talking about when they decided to split or when they
decided to split? It starts with a young 16-year-old bride and comes in and has opinions on the business. The wives don't get along. Everyone's living together as well, which is that's another recipe for a disaster. It's hard enough to work together. Living together, you have no break. at all. I think problems blend into it, because there is as you know, do you have a sister-in-law or do you have any
I have what would be ex-sister-in-law now, right? You say that ex-in-laws, or do they always stay your
ex-in-laws, my former in-laws, my ex-in-laws? You say ex-in-laws. Yeah, so I think with, you're on top of each other, there's little petty shit that blends into work the next day. If somebody says, oh, can you believe that she tried to pass those Brussels sprouts off as fresh? They were clearly stale or whatever the thing is. You're still looking at her side-eyed the next day at work. You guys are making shoes for Jesse Owens. And then just looking at that Brussels sprout.
She might have. The Brussels sprout sounds very 1936 Germany, by the way. I don't know if it is, but it does.
Even a thing.
Let me say this. We say how much kids grow up too fast nowadays. They were getting married at 16.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's weird. I think he was significantly older still. I think that's just what they were doing. Anytime now, people get married at 20, and we think that's insane. My mom had me when she was 20 years old.
Yeah, my mom had her 20.
Yeah, and that was commonly done. But if my son, who's 21 now, told me he was getting married, I'd be like, no, you're not. I know. Horrible idea. So the wives are squabbling. There were, and this is all from a Guardian article, but Rudy, who was apparently the better looking of the two, had an affair with Adi's wife. That'll do it. For which he was never forgiven. I don't see how you ever come back from that.
Of course, he didn't come back from that.
Yeah, you can't. No, I can't believe you stayed married to the wife.
Yeah.
If my wife has an affair with my brother, guess what? Divorced wife. They can both fuck off. There's no fucking way I stay married to my wife.
Do you think it's different back then, though? They're like, come on, man, it's 1936. What do you want? You know what I mean? It's not like...
He was cold. He was look, I thought it was my wife. It was dark. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could possibly explain it.
Yeah, but so this is the thing. So Rudy's handling the sales, right? Adi's the shoemaker. He's the one who's skilled. We're giving all this credit to Adi because he's a shoemaker, but let's be straight up. Rudy, probably because of his good looks, was more charismatic. He was outgoing. Adi was shy. He's out there doing the thing. You know what I mean? And maybe
that's what it takes to make a successful company. Like in Business 101, you have to have different personality types to run a company. So you do need the charismatic salesperson and the guy who's the know-me, shoemaker. If you're going to have a successful showman,
is maybe the crazy. You know me. What do you mean? Can Rudy get a piece once in a while from your lady if he's out there pushing this sneaker? He's under the guise of Hitler. He's getting Owens in a pair of kicks. I mean, give the guy some slack.
He could have gone anywhere in that village and banged somebody else. He could be right. He could have been all of the German women.
He could have gone outside the village even.
Outside the village. Why don't you just go into the neighboring town, bang a couple people there, come back? I mean,
that's how small it was then. All right. I like it.
So anyway, I guess everybody points to a night in 1943 when in that small town that I'm not even going to, I should try to pronounce it. Hugensorach. They were under bombardment. Adi and his wife apparently went to their air raid shelter to hear Rudy, who was already in there with his wife, declare the pig dogs are back, the Schweinhunde. And Adi insisted that he had meant the RAF, but Rudy refused to believe him. So,
can I give you my take on this night?
Yes.
You're in a bomb shelter, and bombs are going off outside the shelter. And this is what people are recounting. Here comes the swine pig, my brother. Yeah, you fucked each other's wives. What do you expect? Whatever. You're getting bombs are going off. This one is a crack in the story for me. You know what I mean? This is just adding to the fact that they were splitting or not getting along. Is in the middle of an air raid, he's like, oh, here comes that shitbag brother of mine.
Yeah, but see, if that shitbag brother did indeed bang your wife, like, of course he's going to call him a pig dog. That's it? Pig dog? Is that Schweinhunde? Is that what's being thrown around at the time?
You guys out there pounding the pavement, getting sales.
I don't know. So he should be allowed to bang your wife. At this point, what I want to get to is when they go off to war. But only Rudy goes to war.
But why does Rudy go to war, Al? Addy doesn't go to war because he's useful. He can make sneakers.
That's right. And that company starts making things, as all companies do. They did this in the United States as well. But that company starts making the equivalent to the bazooka. So they take all of these people making shoes and turn them into bazooka manufacturers.
They turn them into killing machine makers.
Yeah, that's right.
So they had a really good factory, right? It's like they were making shoes. They were out of their mom's kitchen, and they had like a factory, and they're like, oh, we can use this factory, and your guys are going to make us bazookas.
And Rudy goes to war, but is constantly trying to make it back and actually gets arrested a bunch of times. I guess the one theory is that Adolf had betrayed his brother during the war to get him out of the way and take the more successful company for himself. So Rudy always suspects that Adi, got him enlisted. And then Rudolph is fleeing from the front line in 1945, and he's arrested on his way back. So he's trying to pop back to the company. And then someone also say that Adi gave the U.S. occupiers information about his brother and told them that he was part of the Gestapo. Another theory depicts Adolf being very jealous of his brother, of course.
There's no jealousy when your brother banged your wife. That goes...
Yeah, you hate him. You want to see him die. And maybe he probably sends him in there. I don't understand. If my brother, again, bangs my wife, I might have a dead brother and be in jail. I don't see there's no coming back from that for me.
What if it took sales in the company through the roof, like you've never seen?
Yeah. I mean, you really got to be an asshole to allow that to happen. We're talking about, again, being as feisty as I am, I have a difficult time somebody looks sideways at my wife. I remember a comedian that we both know give my wife an extra long hug. I contemplated $4 tackle.
What's extra? How long is extra long?
A little extra long. Held it for 2 more beats than no one normally should.
Let's count it out. Ready? Oh, hey, here comes my hug.
Hug, hug.
Yeah, that's getting in it.
There's been a couple occasions where I've thought to myself, okay, when am I going to blow up here? I really was going to grab somebody. I didn't like it.
But you run hot. Germans don't traditionally run hot, right?
Right. Yeah. I just don't understand how it even made it past this point. I don't even understand how, again, if Rudy did indeed sleep with Adi's wife, I don't understand how there's the company just doesn't break up at that point. But apparently there's all of this speculation that Adi sent him into this war. Rudy's sneaking back left and right. Then Adi's giving more information to the U.S. occupiers, saying he's in the Gestapo. Because what happens is, I think the U.S. rolls into the village, and they're almost going to blow up this shoe factory, which they should have. They were making bazookas. And somebody comes out, I think it's Adi's wife, comes out waving a white flag and says, no, we just are shoemakers. We just want to make shoes. And they spare the building and spare the company. And that's actually, the U.S. now occupies that building.
No one take a look inside. No one's
you start they're making these Adidas, they're making great. And that's how the Adidas company begins to take off and become popular in the United States.
Well, hold on a second. 2 things. One,
yes.
Just from one of the articles I read, when she came out waving the white flag, a U.S. officer was quoted as saying, "Isn't that the chick Rudy banged?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard she's giving it up.
2, The Adidas and Puma split didn't happen till later. I mean, it didn't happen till he got back from the war, right? Isn't that into like 48? What year was it? Either way, what were you saying just then about the popularity of Adidas in the U.S.?
Oh, I think that
48, yeah.
around 48, that's when people that were familiar with and had occupied this village go back to the United States with their Adidas, and it does become popular. So that's like Adidas already had a leg up because they turned it into a global conversation, and there was already that spark that led to the popularity of the shoe. You know, it's just word of mouth.
And you know what else I think it is, Al, at the end of the day? Where Rudy can sell the shoes, Adi can make them. So when you split, now Adi can find someone to go sell the shoes. You know what I mean? Now Rudy needs to find someone to design the shoes. And if you look at a Puma next to an Adidas, the one thing that jumps out at you is like, Adidas are just cooler. They just have always been cooler. I will say their current like high tops and Marcus Smart kicks, they're cool, but they're not Adidas. You know, they're just not Adidas.
You're talking about Pumas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pumas, again, it's a third-tier shoe. It's Nike, Adidas, and then Puma for me. And it might be even Reebok for me. I have more pairs of Reeboks than I do Pumas. I have no pairs of Pumas in my rotation right now at all.
Bro, I'd go New Balance over Puma. I would go
I have New Balance. I have Hoka's, New Balance, Adidas, Nike, and that's pretty much all of it. Like, there's no other shoe brands in my house. I have no Puma. I have no K-Swiss. I used to have I used to have some Sauconys I would rock. But again,
wait a minute.
you imagine just wait.
Can I stop you before you go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Can we please pay homage to the sneaker that was probably the coolest, came out with the coolest thing ever in the history of sneakers, and that gets no shine and never existed past probably 91? Kangaroos.
Kangaroos, little pocket for what do you put in there? 50 cents?
Couple quarters, bro. You go down there, you get
Those still exist. I think Roos still exists.
You do.
Yes. And I think Pony still exists. Who bought Pony? Didn't Jay-Z or somebody buy Pony?
Those are my baseball cleats for Pony. Ben, can you tell me two things? One, is K-Swiss still around? And if so, how big are they?
K-Swiss is definitely still around.
You think they're crushing?
I don't think they're crushing, but I think they're still around.
Yeah.
I think there was like Elise. I'm going to minor shoe brands. Okay. K-Swiss, Elise, Sauconys.
Saucony's still around. They're in the shoe. They're in the running game.
Sauconys are kind of cool. Anyway, could you imagine your brother's home, both wives? He got both wives now.
Well, the other brother had
Adi's got shirt. Maybe Adi's like flirting with the other wife. Hey, your husband's on the front line. What's he going to do? If you need a LD, let me know. And Rudy is just stewing and super angry about that his brother is still just like making money from their business. And he's, having these life and death, basically his life is on the line and he's not, present for the success of this company. So he's got to be losing his fucking mind. To this day, both graves, opposite end of the graveyard for the deaths.
Of course, that's a no-brainer.
Sure. And it was reported that they did like meet up a little bit right before their death, but the wives could never have known.
Well, no one could know. You know why? Because, again, they did it for business. The town split once Adidas and Puma were split. One factory was on one side of the river, the other one was on the other. And, they were at the point where, if you worked at Adidas, you couldn't marry someone who worked at Puma. That was it. So they decided when they met, they're like, to reconcile for half a day before one of them died, they were like, no one could know about it. It's crazy. By the way, that's the list of sneaker companies. It goes in the world ranking: Nike 1, Adidas, Deckers 3.
What the fuck is a Decker?
I don't know. Skechers is 4, Birkenstock, and then On Holding. You know that sneaker brand, On Holding, that they have that OU and they're pretty rad.
No.
Then Puma, 7th. Crocs is 9. Asics is 11.
I don't think it's a good list. Let me tell you why. Because I want to deal exclusively with sneakers. I don't think Birkenstock should even be on this list.
Interesting. Do you own any Birkenstocks?
No. Have I? Maybe college I had a pair.
When you were hacky sacking in Golden Gate Park?
Hacky sacking. To this day, at first glance, when you walk into, it's been reported that, I think this is from the mayor, the current mayor, that your gaze goes to people's shoes because that's how the rivalry was, how deep it was, like which side are you on? There's a time when you have risked the wrath of colleagues and family. If as an employee of one company, you married an employee of another, says Klaus Peter Gabelin of the local Heritage Association. Even religion and politics were part of their heavy mix. Puma was seen as a Catholic organization and politically conservative, and Adidas was Protestant and social democrat. What baffles me about this entire dust-up is if somebody bangs my wife, it's over right there with the wife and the brother. You know what I mean? And the person like that does the bang. Like whoever banged behind my back is dead to me.
Yeah.
If not, maybe dead.
Now, can we get into a little bit about the screw-in soccer cleats?
You want to talk about the shoes they made a little bit more?
Well, I want to talk about when the first Adidas and Puma both tried to take credit for the screw-in soccer spikes, which won the
German were in the World Cup, yeah.
World Cup when Germany won in sludge, and it's because they had these spikes again. With these spikes, and both Adidas and Puma tried to claim that it was them. Puma has gone back, and there's like advertisements saying like, "Way to go, Puma," because they won. But the truth is, both of them stole the idea from this Alexander Sabat. 1954, the Miracle of Bern. That was the year. So these guys have been stealing. Well, neither of them can be trusted, dude.
I think as far as them being Nazis,
I'll give them a pass.
I'm kind of giving them. I'm kind of giving them a pass as well because you're either go along with them or you're dead. I guess. I don't know. Depends whether or not you want to die and you want to just suicide by Gestapo or whatever is running around killing people that aren't jumping on board. And then they had their classifications because after the Nazis lose, the mayor goes and testifies on Adi's behalf and said that Adi came to him and warned him of a potential Gestapo arrest and hit him on his own property. So it seems like both guys are decent, even though they're at some point making bazookas and probably responsible for the deaths of quite a few Americans. And we're all walking around, and this is the same company that gives Run DMC $1 million shoe deal. So, it is tricky.
To rock around, that's right on top, it's tricky. I remember, I had heard this story about Sandler, and Sandler would never drive a Mercedes because they made all the cars for, the Nazis, the Third Reich. Because, anytime you would go over to Happy Madison, the Sony lot, you'd see Cadillacs. Literally, everyone drove a Cadillac because it was it wasn't this German car.
So let's talk about that because, Puma, Adidas, associated with Nazis, clearly, because, Adi was making bazookas for them. Rudy was drafted and he was on the front line, and even though he did try to sneak back on several occasions, they clearly were Nazis. They had uniforms, they had assignments. Mercedes and BMW, what level, Ben, can you look that up real quick? What were they manufacturing?
What are you asking?
I'm asking what Mercedes exactly made for the Nazis. Were they making just vehicles? I'm not knowledgeable enough. They made the engines for airplanes.
Don't you remember the famous scene in, I'm pretty sure it was a Mercedes logo in Indiana Jones when the Nazis are chasing him and he's on that car and he's holding on, he bends down the Mercedes logo, right? Wasn't that, I think they made like their cars that they were doing, the trucks, engines for airplanes.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you're a German manufacturer of anything at that time,
yes,
you're making stuff for the Nazis.
right. You didn't have a choice.
Well, I'm just trying to gauge their enthusiasm. When they came to him, hey, we need you guys to make engines for the airplanes. Did somebody go, yes, we're on it. We believe in everything you're doing. Excellent. We will make your engines right away. They will be the best engines. Or do they go, okay, do we have to?
Yeah.
Are you listening? You know, what is we're doing this reluctantly, but we'll do it. So I'm not sure.
So let me ask you, do you have Adi, Rudy? Do you feel someone? I mean, I don't think Adi's more successful just because the business is bigger. What if Rudy's like, nah,
I kind of probably always side with the artist, the guy who was originally passionate about making the shoes. And also, I'm sympathetic to the guy who got his wife banged, and that's Adi. He's just left with a craftsman with a banged wife, and it kind of sucks. I kind of get why I was like, let's get this guy who can try to, or had sex with my wife, let's get him out of here. Let's send him into the front lines, maybe catch a stray bullet.
Yeah, or
one with them.
Get him one of those.
I have to close this out. A little bit of a personal story about my father and his brother, because they never really got along.
Are you authorized to talk about this?
They're both dead.
Okay, perfect.
So I feel like I can. And this is the story as I know it. But the backstory of my Uncle John, he's my godfather. He had a difficult time growing up in San Francisco. They both grew up pretty tough, but he went to Lincoln High School, which is a public school. And then my grandmother sent my dad, who was younger, to St. Ignatius College Preparatory for Boys. And my dad, again, went to the prep school versus the guy who went to the rough public school. So my dad, as you would, had a little bit more of a leg up. But there was a lot of resentment there.
Do we know why? Was he brighter?
No. We were both. No, my dad was not brighter. He was an amazing artist. Both of these guys were incredible artists. My Uncle John was an extremely skilled carpenter and could make anything. And I remember they did kind of get along when I grew up, but the real problem started was when my grandmother passed away. And my uncle, I think he locked the doors of the house, had them rekeyed, and was in there cutting open suitcases because a lot of Mexican Americans, a lot of old Italians didn't believe in banks. And my grandmother had money hidden all over the place. So now it becomes this, treasure hunt in this old lady's house, looking for all the places where she might have stashed cash. And that disagreement is something that they carried with them for the rest of their lives. So,
bro,
sort of tore them apart. You don't have nothing like that? You don't have any really big family beefs?
Yeah, dude, are you crazy? I have, my whole family's in a beef right now. There's beefs all over the place. None of them are financial. We're all just from, I don't know, just not getting along. And,
but it doesn't have anything to do with money.
Well, my dad, who was estranged from me from like 9 or 10, he and his sister didn't talk. When my grandmother died, she had money and he got the house, and his other sister. So it was like my dad and his sister didn't talk to the other sister, all, the same bullshit that goes on in a lot of family. And I think that was deriving from money as well. Like my grandfather made good money and then he died and went to my grandmother. When she died, it was supposed to go to like grandkids and their kids, and kind of got all shifted away. And there's a story in our family that my grandma was on her deathbed and they were like, here, sign this will. And she was like, that's the story that you hear. Who the fuck knows? You know what I mean? I don't know. My dad was living with my grandmother at the time. She might have been like, you've been taking care of it. I don't know, Just like we don't know about Addie and Rudy. We really don't know. We just know that we all like Adidas better than Puma.
Adidas is a better shoe.
That's all It's
But
cool.
we pull up some. I want you to see. Pull up the Puma, California. Do they still make that?
I'm sure. Well, they still make Gazelles because I was in an Adidas store recently.
Oh,
'Cause I-
Gazelle is like one of their most popular shoes. I'm just saying, like, oh my god, look how discounted these are. You can get one of these. Oh my god, this is how you know they're not doing well. They're on Amazon. You can get a Puma California for $49.
Well,
Not great.
yeah, what is the problem with them being affordable that annoys you? They should be affordable. Do you know what Shaquille O'Neal sells his sneakers for at Walmart? Shaquille O'Neal could have gone to like a giant brand to like sell sneakers. He goes, no, I want them to be affordable for kids. I don't think it's a negative that they're selling them for discounts so people can afford them. They're the 7th largest sneaker company in the world. Shoot.
Yeah.
Bougie people like you that are like, well, if the price isn't high enough, I'm not buying it. You hear me, Al?
Yeah, I think they're still cool. Puma California's got a good look. They've got that tan, like, undersole. Yeah, and they're rocking a little mesh. I think you could probably find some cooler pairs of them. But
Oh, I just found cooler pairs right here. These sneakers right here that I just found. Puma's got some, you have to just dig a little, and they're kind of specific is the thing. Like, they're not going to just fit into your, like, everyday, like, wearing, you know? But that's the thing. I see Sambas nowadays, and I'm just like, never. I would never wear. When I see an adult male wear a Samba Classic, I'm like, get out of my face. My friend used to wear them all the time, and you know what I'd say? I go, what time's practice, bro? You got practice today? You guys got. Look at the ones I sent you, those Pumas.
oh, those are kind of rad.
Rob
One
Labor.
star. You see how they're 1-star rated, though?
I don't care about the ratings, Al.
I love reading the reviews.
Yelp, and you're like, well, I'm not going to this restaurant because Betty Sue in Calabasas didn't like the old place because it was too loud.
How about this new shoe company? I would never wear these. These Vejas. Veja.
Yeah, I've heard of those. Put them up.
No.
Where do you fall? Where do you fall in line of Yelp reviews? Are you a big read Yelp before you like these? Like, put it this way. If you saw a sneaker that you loved and there was a Yelp review and it said, don't buy these sneakers. My brother banged my wife and this is his company. Would you be like, all right, I won't buy them?
I do look at reviews. I look at, like, especially if on Amazon, I'll look at the number of reviews. So if there's 5,000 reviews and then the thing comes in at, I don't know, 4.8 or something like that, I love it. That's the type of product that I'll purchase. But if it's got, 135 purchases and it's a two-star, I'm not going to buy that thing, no matter what it is.
See, that's kind of how I feel about when I look up a recipe online of something that I want to make. I'm like, all right, how many reviews have there been and how much, what are people saying? That's what I'll do. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm like, when it comes to like a restaurant or certain things, I really don't. I'm like, if I like it and I like how it looks, I'm just going to buy it. It's kind of who I am, Al. And that's what you can expect from me every week on this podcast, Al. I'm going to give you the truth.
I love it. And you're hilarious. And I think that's been our first dust up.
I think that has been our first dust up, and I love it.
Adidas versus Puma. Adidas won, and Puma founder is a fucking sister.
He's all right. He's not a bad guy.
He's dead. He's a dead sister-in-law banger.
All right. Well, each week we'll have new episodes coming out. Some of our social media handles. Can we throw those up to get people to follow Al? I love how much Al's been much more active on social media. There's a new joke every day. People are loving it. They're seeing Madrigal back at it. What's your handle on Instagram? Al Madrigal?
Just Al Madrigal. Just my name on everything, pretty much. I think on TikTok it's Al Madrigal Comedian, because there's somebody else beat me to that because I didn't think it would become a thing. On the Dust Up, though, it's at the Dust Up Podcast on Instagram. Twitter is Dust Up Pod, the Dust Up Pod. And then we got the Dust Up for everything else. TikTok is just at the Dust Up. My TikTok is Al Madrigal Comedy, not comedian. Al Madrigal Comedy.
And I'm Jay Larson Comedy on all social platforms. It's the same: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And if you want to call in with a Dust and tell us something going on in your world, you can call us at 925-727-3878, 925-727-DUST. Or they can email us, can't they, O?
They can, and that's at thedustuppod@gmail.com. The theme song is brought to us by an Australian band that's cool as shit called the Flat Trackers, and let's cue that now. Thanks, everybody.
Later, everybody.